Happy Labor Day Eve. This is, I thought I heard some upstairs. Oh well, doesn't matter. This is Dylan Lang. It is Labor Day Eve, and this is a brand new episode of the Comic Hall. I did my other show, Dylan Knows, yesterday, and today I decided to sneak in a double wide haul for Labor Day. Since most people are off of work tomorrow, I figured I better do it now. It's 9:47 p.m. on Sunday, September 2nd. So I figured I'd get this out of the way, and then I can rest and relax through tomorrow. I got to do grocery shopping, but that's about it. Maybe read some of these comics, and then Tuesday, back to work, back to school. Football's coming, fall's coming, Halloween's coming, Thanksgiving's coming, Christmas coming, everything's coming up roses. So, but here we go. We have 2 weeks worth of comics here. The first one is the stuff like I talked about last time I did a double wide show, which is 2 weeks ago, I think. I'm going to do the books that came out this week first, and then I'll do the ones that came out last week after that. This week was the 5th week setup that happens every once in a while, and a lot of books didn't come out this week, and also a lot of them that did come out are the expensive specials and annuals and stuff like that. So here we go with brand new comic call. First up, Looney Tunes and DC have crossed over again. This tends to be a good 5th week thing. This is Catwoman and Tweety and Sylvester. It's from by Gail Simone, who absolutely is killing it and everything else she does, with art by Inaki Miranda. So a nice little, a fun little story about Tweety birds and Sylvesters and Catwoman, and done in the DC crazy style. A little Black Widow in there, looks like. And it looks like a lot of some even Hawkman and Hawkwoman in there as well. The artwork is gorgeous and pretty interesting. So we got that. And then we also have a backup written by Shea Fontana with art by Walter Carzon, inks by Horatio Altolini. And this one is more along the lines of what the Warner Brothers versions of the story would be. So you have Sylvester and Tweety meeting up with Catwoman in that world. So I love the cover. I love the writer. I love the story idea. So there's that one. Also this week we have Harley Quinn and Gossamer. Now Gossamer is the big red, as you can see, the big red thing that showed up on a couple of the Bugs Bunny ones. His name apparently is Gossamer. Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner come back to write this story. They're the writers, and it's art by Pierre Brito. And it looks gorgeous as always, and it's always fun when Jimmy and Amanda write Harley. They write her good, they write her well. And then you got this Gossamer character from the Warner Brothers cartoons, kind of interesting. And to have them team up is lunacy, but hey, it works. Why not? And again, like with all the DC ones, DC Looney Tunes ones, they have a backup. This backup is written by Shali Fish with art by Dave Alvarez. So again, so you have the DC style version, and then you have the Looney Tunes style version. So these have all been really, really good. And there's another set coming. They've already announced it. I'm trying to remember when the next 5th week would probably be. So we've got, let's see, it's usually not back to back, so it might not be until maybe November. But we'll see about that. Next up, we have Lex Luthor Porky Pig. It's just kind of a disturbing cover. But it's written by Mark Russell, who wrote the fantastic Flintstones series and the which one else did he write? He wrote Snagglepuss Chronicles. Art by Brad Walker with art by Andrew Hennessy. So Lex Luthor hires Porky Pig to work for him, and comedy ensues. Pretty nice looking stuff. And again, as always, back up, this one's written by Jim Fanning with art by John Loder and Paul J. Lopez. And I like the fact that they do the comparisons where they have the DC version and the Looney Tunes version. I think that's a brilliant idea. Next up, we have Joker Daffy Duck. I'm not the biggest Joker fan, but when you get these two together, it's pure insanity. And you got Scott Lobdell writing it, and you've got great artwork by Brett Booth and Norm Rapmud, who I've always liked their stuff. So you get a little bit of that. So again, you get Joker and Daffy Duck working together, and it's kind of weird. And then you get the backup story coming up. Ooh, that's a pretty nice Joker picture. Brett Booth and Norm Ratmud do good work. And the backup is written by Joey Cavalieri, and drawn by Luciana Vecchio. So actually, it's kind of almost like a continuation of the story. So pretty interesting about that. So I think that's all the Disney Looney Tunes ones. Yep. From DC, they're also releasing annuals. We have the Silencer Annual #1, the first of the new heroes coming out of metal. This one has Silencer meeting up with Batman. It is written by Dan Abnett with art by Jack Herbert. So it's the annual, so it's a double-sized story. Because I get Silencer, I picked it up to keep going with it. Silencer's actually a pretty good one, and to have her team up with Batman is a pretty good idea, and it's a pretty neat idea. So good stuff. Also from DC, we have the Red Hood and the Outlaws Annual #2, which continues out of the storyline that ended in Red Hood and the Outlaws #25, where you get Jason working with Roy Arsenal, Scott Lobdell, words, Clayton Henry, pictures. So, and you get the two of them working together to try to get the Red Hood recovered and get him starting back on the road to recovery. And then we have a small backup which features what's going on with Artemis and Bizarro. Hopefully they're still going to be around because I like them very much. If they do not show up in the next Red Hood, that's written by Scott Lobdell with art by Neil Gooch. If they do not show up in that one, I might have to stop collecting that. That's it for the DC stuff. Marvel didn't have a lot going on. They had a lot more other stuff, but I'm not collecting everything. So I bought Edge of Spider-Geddon #2, which is the miniseries, which is going to lead into the Spider-Geddon story, featuring a different Spider-Man in each one. This one's written by Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson, based on a story by Gerard Way, pencils and inks by Alberto Albuquerque. So we're getting a female girl who builds a spider robot, which is a new Spider-Man we haven't seen yet from the Spider-Verse. This is a new one. So we're going to be getting a few of these new ones coming up. So I think that's a really good reason. And that's also another reason why I'm picking up the Spider-Geddon stuff, because even though it's not really a Dan Slott thing, and I don't think Spider-Man's actually really going to be in it, this is always good stories when you get multiple Spider-Mans. So always good for that. And Exiles #7 is the only other one that came out this week. Again, another really good book written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Rod Reyes and Lee Ferguson. So pretty interesting style. You're getting Western Black Panther, which, Exiles, for those who don't know, are a group of heroes that time jump to different dimensions and meet up with characters from those dimensions and deal with scenario, and you get to do different versions of the heroes. And it looks like they're running into the old Exiles group, which is interesting because there was a Exiles team earlier. We'll have to read it to find out for sure, but it's pretty good. And Exiles has always been one of my favorite series. So, and then independent-wise, Beyonders #1. When I read the description, I thought, okay, this might be pretty cool. And then I looked through it. Paul Jenkins is the writer. Artwork by Wesley St. Clair. And I'm looking at it, I was like, I don't know if it's exactly what I was looking for. I'll read it, check it out, but I don't think I'm going to get very much more of this because, I got to cut back and cut down. So, Moth and Whisper, Ted Anderson, Jen Hickman. I always like how they have these little previews in the back that get you involved with that. And finally, we have Red Sonja #20, written by Amy Chu and Eric Burnham, and illustrated by Carlos Gomez and Vincenzo Federecchi. And as always, it's fun to get hot women in chainmail, fighting with swords, breast heaving, stuff like that. So, very nice. That's it for all the books that came out this week. So, as I said, the 5th weeks are kind of weak, as it were. Not a lot came out this week, but that's kind of good sometimes. You still have one more day in Labor Day stuff. My store is doing a Labor Day sale, so your store probably will be doing a Labor Day sale also. Next up are books that came out last week that, as I said, I picked all these up off of the... At my store, we have the books that came out this week, and then we have the ones that came out the last few months. So if you run across a book that's like the new book that comes out with like number 3, and you like the looks of it, it's like, oh, I wish I could get 2 in 1. Go to that wall. You might still find a 2 in 1. So I found everything I needed to. So this is all stuff that came out last week, so you should be able to get these at another shelving area. Justice League Dark number 2, James Tynion IV. Alvaro Martinez Bueno and Ralph Fernandez. It's always a great team when you get a Justice League team fighting supernatural creatures. You even get an appearance by Dr. Fate, which is always good, because Dr. Fate is a really great character that they need to use him more of. I like his blue and yellow thing. Constantine pops up in here as well. And we meet the new villain, kind of creepy. So Justice League Dark is very good. I've always liked the Kelly Jones Batman, and just in time for Halloween, we have Batman Kings of Fear. It's a 6-issue miniseries, so it'll be over. Let's see, the first issue came out in August, September. The 3rd issue will be out in October, November, December. It'll be over in January, but hey, it's a perfect one. Driven by Scott Peterson, with art by Kelly Jones. It's always fun to see Kelly Jones take on Batman. Kelly Jones did a run of Batman, which they've collected with Doug Munch, and I need to pick that up because that's right around the time where I stopped reading comics. But I got a bunch of the issues with Kelly Jones's Batman, and I liked it. So when I saw that he was doing this, I was like, oh, I guess I got to buy this one. So Batman Kings of Fear number 1. Action Comics number 1002, still continuing my testing the waters with Bendis. Patrick Gleason's artwork on this is what's selling this one for me, because he and should I forget his name, did a great job on the Superman and Action before. You get appearance from Guardian in this one as well. Peter Tomasi is the other guy. And you're learning more about, you're in Bendis's area where he is exploring the crime in Metropolis. Next up, we have Flash number 53. Joshua Williamson is fully ensconced in this new DC universe that he helped create with Metal and Scott Snyder. This is including a new power for the Flash. So Joshua Williamson writer, Christian Deuce artist. And it's the strength power. So you have the strength force, you have the speed force, you have the slow force, and now you have the strength force. So it's like he's trying to do a Green Lantern thing, but with different things like that. So we've got Flash. And Flash is always an interesting book to read, so good on that. The Terrifics number 7 brings back Tom Strong, who I have always loved from the ABC Comics. Chris Sprouse was the writer on it, Alan Moore, or the artist on it, Alan Moore was the writer. But this one we've got Jeff Lemire doing the writing and Dale Eaglesham doing the artwork. But Tom Strong is back and helping the members of the DC universe of the Terrifics. So I'm excited for this book again. Because I like Tom Strong, and we will see what happens in getting Dale Eaglesham to do the artwork is a good one. But the fact that we get Tom Strong back is very happy for me. We also have a really nice cover here, sexy cover, Silencer number 8. We saw the annual earlier. This is Silencer number 8. This is, I think, the beginning of Patrick Zurcher's run on the artwork. So Dan Abnett is doing the writing. Patrick Zurcher is doing the artwork. He's been pushing this for a while. So I've been a fan of Silencer so far, so I'm going to keep reading it because I like it. And sexy, sexy stuff. That's it for DC. Marvel. What West Coast Avengers #1 has been getting some play with a bunch of the Comicsgate losers going on and on about how they're changing everything up. It's written by Kelly Thompson with art by Stefano Caselli. They got the Hawkmen, the Hawkeyes. You've got America. You've got Gwenpool. You've got all kinds of different characters you're not used to. West Coast Avengers was always a fun book when it was when it first came out in the 1980s. So more power to that. Plus you get Giant Tigra, which is great. So can't wait to read that. Should be excited for that. Amazing Spider-Man #4. I've been enjoying this run by Nick Spencer so far, surprisingly. Ryan Ottley is doing the artwork with Cliff Rathburn doing the inks. This one has Spider-Man, Peter Parker splitting bodies and makes for an interesting story. So hopefully that'll be coming to an end soon. And you got the Tri-Sentinel, who hasn't been around for a while, and you've got him taking on Spider-Man, which is a really good story. Life of Captain Marvel #2 is drawn by Carlos Pacheco, who I absolutely love, with ink by Rafael Frontieres, with writer Margaret Stoll. This is basically Captain Marvel Year 1, getting you ready for the movie, which hopefully we'll be seeing the trailer for soon. So good stuff. Mr. and Mrs. X #2. I've loved when we have married superheroes together, and we have Kelly Thompson again writing, Oscar Basoldo doing the artwork, and so Rogue and Gambit, and yeah, throw Deadpool in there, I guess, but I like the story of a married couple adventuring together. That's it from Marvel. From Independence, we have Beasts of Burden #1, written by Evan Dorkin with art by Benjamin Dewey, about a bunch of dogs who are the last line of defense against the supernatural in the woods. It's been a number of Beasts of Burden books, so if you haven't read any of the other ones, I definitely recommend checking them out in trade format, particularly around Halloween coming up. And finally, we have Red Sonja and Tarzan #4, continuing this crossover written by Gail Simone with art by Walter Giovanni. And what can I say? It's Red Sonja, it's Tarzan, it's Gail Simone. You really can't go wrong with any of this. So let's see if we can get some good, sexy Red Sonja in there. And that is it for the comics from 2 weeks ago. So we should be back on track. We will see, because as I said, I mentioned earlier in the year that I'm going to be cutting down on comics, and so you might not be seeing as many episodes as obviously you've seen. I've done two-week episodes, so we'll try to get back on track next week. It all depends on if we have enough money for me to buy what's coming out and if there's stuff worthy of coming out. So with that note, I'm going to say goodnight. Have a pleasant Labor Day. You got one more day off, and then guess what? You don't have another holiday probably till Thanksgiving. We're off, so you got a little bit of ways to go. So live it up, enjoy it. Do cook out if you want to, and just take it easy and have a good one. And we will see you later. And keep reading. And go to little comic book stores. They might have Labor Day sales going. All right? Keep reading. Buy some cool stuff.